Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 27 today for the Dutch Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the Prix one at Shanghai, China, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into this, obviously, we have kind of a making up to do, because this time last season, in our very first attempt at the Dutch GP, things went very badly. The car, for one, wasn't performing too well, and also we got some early damage in that Grand Prix, and pretty much had a pretty dismal effort around Zandvoort for the first time of asking around in the My Team Career Mode. So looking to make amends this episode for that, and we have a car that hopefully can make amends, and we have some further upgrades that we can maybe do to try and push our car even more forwards, because we've got plenty of time till the next Grand Prix here. Unlike the last one, we actually have a decent amount of time to choose activities and also maybe rush in a development or two. We'll see. But in terms of what we're going to pick here, so I had a look at Carlos Sainz's stats at the moment. He's 89 rated, so I was very tempted to do a further bit of weight training here to try and boost him up to maybe just over 90 going into this next race, and then also just going for a team-funded event which will boost the morale. We'll spend a little bit of money, but to be fair, it's not that much, and at the moment, we're not really too strapped for cash, are we? Of course, we're saving up money constantly to try and get the next few upgrades on the HQ, but we can obviously spare 20k there for some booster morale for all departments, which will come in handy, of course, because we are looking at some more upgrades. We've got over 1,000 R&D points here, and I'm looking at this major ERS upgrade, which will further boost the harvesting of the car and basically give us more opportunities to use overtake mode in the race especially. We can rush the development and get it in time for this next Grand Prix at Zandvoort, or stand development is for the next episode. So, you know, we've boosted the morale, and we are going to boost the morale further with a team-funded event. So, I think trying the rushed strategy, I think it'll pay out, you know, because the failure is still under 50%, which I know it's still a decent amount. It's like, what, 47% or something like that? It's still quite high, but standard is 17, which is like nothing. And then, you know, 42% there it is on the bottom right. So it's still a decent amount of failure chance, but it's nothing like crazy like 60, where pretty much you're guaranteed it's going to get, you know, it's going to not go through. So we're going to go for it. We're going to roll the dice, and hopefully that good morale we have on the engine side of the R&D tree and our staff is going to help us out in that. And also, we do have enough points to also go ahead and purchase another minor upgrade. And I thought, finally, maybe to some of your guys' pleasure, we're going to go for a durability upgrade on the internal combustion engine, because that was a part that was wearing quite quickly last season. We had to go for that extra column, obviously, at one point in the season, and this will hopefully help not only me, but also Sainz avoid engine penalties, and that's going to be useful, of course, as a team unit to be strong right through the entire season without having Sainz, you know, qualifying well, let's say in P6, then he gets put down to P16 or whatnot, which obviously he has qualified quite a few times in P6, so that'll be good to try and avoid at the tail end of the season when we're still fighting for, you never know, crucial points in the championship, because as it stands, yeah, we're comfortably in a nice, decent P2 position. Obviously, I'm not going to take that for granted of where we are then, but we're going to move through the activity timeline towards the Dutch GP, and to my surprise and delight, the upgrade will come through. So we rush through that major ERS update, and that's actually going to get on the car in time for this next Grand Prix, the Dutch GP at Zandvoort. We saw last episode the harvesting improvements we've already made were really decent. We're able to use so much ERS in just certain places around Shanghai. So this is now a major upgrade. Remember, the upgrade we had before was a minor ERS upgrade. This is a major one. So I think we're in for maybe a shock of how much harvesting we're going to get to do here in this GP, and hopefully we can go well. But on the note of improving the car, improving the team, we're going to go ahead and look at one little cheeky upgrade. I know we talked about saving a decent amount of money and having that kind of, you know, base level of, you know, around 6 to 7 million maybe to renew Sainz's contract, but we're still quite a few episodes away from that point of the season. So I thought, let's go ahead and upgrade it. We're going to have to eventually. So we're going to go for a fabrication upgrade on the engine side of things. I don't foresee us needing 3 simultaneous upgrades, but it's one of those upgrades where we're going to have to make it anyway to get up to spec 3 eventually to, you know, progress the team. So it's just another little, you know, tick in the box on that step forward. And the last thing we have to do on the engine side would be the resource point generation, and then technically we could be 1 upgrade away from spec 3. But we now move through in towards the race weekend, and the R&D chart is now finally updated with the upgrades we have, and so you can see, theoretically, we are actually now the second best team on the grid, just ahead of Ferrari. That major update comes in as Ferrari plateau somewhat. You can see also now very kind of more vividly here why Racing Point have really dropped off off. They've just plateaued. They've made no upgrades this entire season. So they started off with a strong car, but all the teams around them, Red Bull, McLaren, AlphaTauri, they've all upgraded. And you can see AlphaTauri, they are upgrading further on in this episode. So now they're literally on the cusp of matching McLaren and Red Bull Racing. So AlphaTauri making good strides. So both Red Bull teams looking stronger, I guess, than their other midfield rivals of Racing Point and Renault, respectively. But obviously, only time and the actual on-track performance will tell, as, you know, we were quite up in the R&D chart anyway last episode, but we were unable to match Leclerc, let alone the Mercedes car. So we'll see how this progresses into this weekend. Like I said, it was a torrid time for us last season, so I'm very cautious at my own chances in this race, but let's see. The car is a lot stronger, obviously, this time around, so hopefully we can avoid some damage in the race and do well. But, of course, the first part is we have to qualify well. And with that now, we're transitioning nicely in towards Q1. A bit overcast here, but the rain is going to stay away, but it definitely does look very gloomy, like it could rain at any point, but hopefully it'll just stay away and the weather report will be accurate as we now fly through the last corner of the banking here at Zandvoort across the line. P5 there. Wasn't the best lap, I must say. It was a bit of a scruffy one. I'm still getting used to the circuit, so I actually went out on a second run on medium tyres, as I thought my first lap was that bad that I could actually improve on a slower set of tyres. You know, because usually you would think you're going to go slower, but that's how much time I think I lost in the middle. And you can see on the top right there, we're not getting a lot. You know, we're getting just about a tenth or two, but that should be enough to keep us safe because we're in P12 right now, but it's actually massively close in the midfield with the AI right now, because you've got Red Bull, Racing Point, McLaren, Renault, AlphaTauri, all, you know, fighting for the same spots. So it is massively close. So even like 2.5 tenths there just about gains us enough time to get up into P8 and secures us into Q2. So we actually went fastest on the mediums, and that saves me one set of soft tyres for later on. So I can afford to maybe try and hopefully get through into Q3 on one set of softs, and that gives me 2 runs in the top 10 shootout. But that's obviously an if, because we first need to get through into the top 10 shootout and actually get through on just one set, which is easier said than done, because you know, last season part of it was due to me having damage, but also part of it was just due to me not getting used to the circuit, not getting up to speed with it. And even now, even with this much better car, I still feel a little bit awkward here and there that I'm not going as quick as I could be, or not quick as my teammate or AI around me. So just across the line here, I didn't really know what this lap time was going to put us. You know, it's a 1:09.55, and that puts us in P7 there, so it does get us through into the top 10 shootout. But you can see we've got a lot of time to find against our teammate Sainz, who is right up there at the sharp end, P2. Of course, we need to take that with a pinch of salt, because Bottas, Verstappen, and Hamilton have all qualified into Q3 on a set of medium tyres. So that's going to give them a split strategy to the rest of us in the race. I don't, tyre wear wise, last season I think it was a one-stop either way, so it might not give them an advantage, but it's still interesting to see that they've gone that way. But yeah, Sainz right up there, we've got some time to find at least a him, and then I don't know, God forbid, how much time the Mercedes cars are going to find once they go onto soft tyres and really give it the full bean. So we'll just see as we now go into Q3, but we've made it through on one set. So for this shootout now, we have 2 fresh sets of softs to use. Obviously, generally through qualifying, I think most drivers do, they improve as you go on through the sessions, you dial into the car more, but having 2 sets here will just allow us to have that comparison whilst we do that second run, which I can always try and use to improve and try and go a little bit harder at certain points in the circuit. But speaking about going a little too hard there on the circuit, we got the right tyre on the curb and had to go opposite lock in that what is usually nearly a flat out right hander. You're trying to go as flat as early as you can, flat through there. So we lost some time, at least a couple of tenths, I must say. So we come through the last bend and already on the back foot then with a mistake on that first run. So we're only in P6. It's going to be down to P7 at the moment. Hamilton on pole, but look at that. Sainz in second place, only what, 5,000 slower than Hamilton, and Perez in AlphaTauri is in third. Absolute madness of a top 10 shootout right now. So we go for the second run, and it's all to play for here. Sainz is showing the car has got some lightning pace, it would seem, or others are just not as quick maybe as we thought they'd be, but we need to try and find the time. We've got about maybe a 1/10 and a half in our pocket through the first few corners. Now can we try and gain the time we lost on that first run by not getting it too close to the curb, going as early as we can on the turning, but then not grazing the curb, just very close to the white line. There you can see we've gained up to 4 to 5 tenths there, so half a second in our back pocket, but Sainz was a whopping 7 or more tenths ahead of us in that qualifying time he did on the first run. So even though we're going to gain over 5 tenths here across the line, we go from P9 to only P8 on the grid. And our teammate, Carlos Sainz, is on pole position for the Dutch Grand. How has he done that? I am absolutely... my jaws just dropped to the floor. How's he done that? Pole position. He's over 8 tenths faster than us right now in Q3. He's done an absolute madness. So that extra training we did, he must be over 90 rated, like at least 91 rated with that training we did at the start of the episode. He's just bagged the team's very first pole position. This is a historical moment in the My Team career here. Aarava Archer Racing's first pole ahead of Hamilton, Bottas. I mean, Perez has out-qualified us in the AlphaTauri, and he split both Red Bulls as well, so showing how much they've improved. Albon, to be fair, I only realised he's made it through into the top 10 shootout, so Albon's done a bit of a mazza to actually out-qualify both McLarens as well on the grid. So McLaren continue to underperform for where their car is on R&D terms, but for us, I really hope this is just us being bad at qualifying here around Zandvoort, and hopefully we have some race pace, because otherwise Sainz is going to slap us in this race, and he might have, I don't know, a good chance to go for a win, dare I say? I don't even know, but let's go to the grid then. Our teammate is on pole for our team.
For years, the passionate Dutch fans have been easy to find trackside at races across Europe and throughout the world. Now, at long last, they have a Grand Prix to call their own. It's a warm welcome once again to all of our viewers in the Netherlands and around the globe as we get underway for the Dutch Grand Prix. Zandvoort circuit then, 14 corners, 10 to the right and 4 to the left, with plenty of steep camber and elevation changes to keep our drivers on their toes throughout the 2.6 mile lap. And watch out for cars making use of the DRS zone into turn 1 to try and overtake. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's talk about Renault. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and Perez, Ricciardo, the owner-driver, Kvyat, and Alexander Albon, Ocon, Gasly, Sebastian Vettel, and Russell, Norris, Magnussen, Nobuharu Matsushita, and Roman Grosjean. Aitken, Latifi, Giovinazzi. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Okay, we're P8 on the grid for the Dutch Grand Prix. Our teammate, Carlos Sainz, is on pole position, the first pole for our team in the My Team career mode. This is a big moment, maybe. This could be a big race for the entire team. I hope we have much better race pace. The strategy is going to be a one-stop from the soft onto hard. So that's why, actually, those guys who did qualify on the mediums, I don't think that's going to be an advantage. I think that may be a disadvantage, you know. So I think if we're aggressive and punchy enough, we could have a good go at those two Mercs and the Red Bull Verstappen. But of course, we have to navigate a few other cars as well at the start of this Grand Prix. But let's go out there. We need to show up because our teammate is driving off the front row. So he's going to have a very good getaway, isn't he? I don't know what to really expect from this race now, but we've got good potential as a team. Sainz on pole, us in P8. We've got some making up to do as we go to 5 red lights to the Dutch Grand Prix here at Zandvoort, and we are underway. It's a shaky start for Sergio Perez up ahead of us in the AlphaTauri. We're looking to go down the inside and get an inside move done on Ricciardo. Hit the curb on the right. Little bit of oversteer. Ahead of us, it's 3 wide nearly as the Ferrari is trying to attack the Mercedes cars. Those guys are mediums. I think they are already feeling the difference in tyre compounds. We go sailing around the outside of, this is Perez in the AlphaTauri using plenty of overtake mode and blasting past him, but he's going to keep his foot in on the outside, and Perez is really going for it, and we're still neck and neck through the flat out right-hander down the hill, next right, trying to squeeze him out desperately, but he's really hanging on to this fight. Meanwhile, I think Sainz out on the minimap, you can see he's just getting away cleanly in first place, but we get the position on Perez, squeeze him out. We're up into P6 now. Behind then is Perez and Albon, but ahead is Verstappen. Then you've got Leclerc, Bottas, Hamilton, and then Sainz in first place. He's gotten away fine from pole position and is already building a slight gap. Well, I say a slight, actually a pretty major gap actually in that camera angle there. So he's doing a wonderful job. Meanwhile, back to our POV, we're looking to maybe try and pass Verstappen using a lot of overtake mode on the outside of the banking. Oh, what a move on Verstappen. You know what? I think we're going to have a fun Grand Prix here. I can just tell this car is hooked up to this circuit. It was just me in qualifying, because right now, we have a good race car here. This car is alive. And also, versus these guys on medium tyres. I know Leclerc ahead of us is on softs, but Verstappen, they're so easily overtaken on the banking with overtake mode. And with that upgrade we have on the ERS, we're just able to use so much overtake mode on this back section, you know, towards the banking, through the banking, on the exit, and way down the main straight. We're going to be flying past some of these cars. We now go and try and size up Leclerc using overtake mode very early on this time. Can't quite make a move on the left-hand side. Instead, go to the inside onto the main straight, onto lap number 3. DRS activated, but we're already past the Ferrari in a straight line. So our car's working well in the engine department and even the aero department. I mean, it's feeling pretty hooked up in Sector 2. And like I said, these guys who qualified on mediums and tried something clever, I don't think it's that clever, you know, because we're all on the same strategy, a one-stop, and you can see very clearly on the mini-map, Sainz is building a great gap to Hamilton, keeping him at an arm's length, and we are in P4 at the moment from where we qualified P8, and we're looking to maybe overtake a Mercedes car legit on pure pace here for P3 in this Grand Prix, using overtake mode through the banking, and on the outside again. Oh, it's so close to the wall. We were literally millimeters, pixels away from grazing the wall there, but it's a fantastic round the outside move in the banking. The second time we've done it, of course, because we did it on the home favourite with Verstappen just earlier, and we're up into P3. Now we can go chasing after Lewis Hamilton, who's a further 2 seconds ahead as we now move through to lap number 7. So it wasn't as quick maybe as the other overtakes. You know, we closed up to Bottas immediately after we overtook Leclerc, but this has taken a few laps here, 3 laps to be exact, from lap 4 to 7, and crucially we're within that 1 second now for DRS on this small straight as well as on that main pit straight, which is the more important place. And even though you can see through that left-hander, we had a lot of understeer, but we're able to really brake quite late into this chicane, get the car slowed down, and even more so, just using overtake mode pretty much for the entirety of the banking, pretty much as we exit this apex. As soon as we get on the power flat out, activate overtake mode, we're pretty much using it all the way down this main pit straight, and just look how powerful our car is now with DRS open as well. We've literally made a monster now in a mere 2 episodes, you know, because the car didn't seem this quick in a straight line at Australia, but now it's looking like a real monster. And Hamilton making a mistake there on the rear end as his rear end snapped out. We saw a few AI mistakes last episode, and so it looks like they're creeping in again as Hamilton, ironically, is the one hitting some tyre wear issues maybe on the rear end versus myself. But here we are now. We couldn't make the move on the previous lap. Lap number 8 onto 9 now. Much better launch, and look at this. We have just powered past Hamilton so easily there. And it's a 1-2 now for aarava. This is unbelievable. Where has this pace come from? I know we've upgraded. We had a major ERS upgrade. That's literally it, though. That can't be the only reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the car suits this circuit. You know, maybe next episode we're going to get reality check. But as it stands right now, as we have a massive tank slapper there, so you can see I'm also facing the tyre wear, to be fair. So lap 11, my pit window's open, so we are going to come in at the end of this lap. Clearly we need it as the rear tyres start to go off, and Hamilton keeps me pretty honest. But I was going to say, I'm still in disbelief that we're in this position right now. Sainz has been dominating this GP from pole. We come in from second place, but it is still going to be a 1-2, you would say, once we all make our pit stops. And we have the best shot we've ever had, not only a double podium, but our very first race victory in this team. And the question will be, Which car? Is it going to be Sainz? Can I do anything about it? Because Sainz was 8/10 faster than me in Q3. But clearly, as you can see in the start of this Grand Prix, I've not lost any pace here. The race car I've got underneath me is much better, as it always usually is. I'm never a great qualifier. You guys know that. Historically, over the last 3-4 F1 games, I always am a lot slower over one lap compared to race pace. So, you know, do we have a shot at a race win? I don't want to tempt fate because this is all so sudden and so surprising. But here we are, lap 13. Into turn 1. Sainz is coming out of the pit lane just ahead of us, but we've gained a little bit with the undercar. So could we go out and attack him now? He's on hard tyres. Everyone will be going to hard tyres, I assume. And so game on now to the end of the Grand Prix as we go nearly side by side with him as we have a little look on the outside here, using some ERS to close up. But this is it now. We attack him, and this is the race now for what will eventually be the race lead and first and second position. You can probably tell by my voice, I'm just so surprised that we're here. I mean, Sainz getting pole was surprising enough, but I didn't think he was actually going to hold pole. I didn't think he was going to hold first place, but he waltzed away, and I've waltzed through the entire grid, and now we go to the inside to try and maybe take this position from Sainz. Bit of contact on the inside. He goes quite defensive there, tries to squeeze us into the apex and pinch us and create a tighter line, but we kept our nose in. We're still side by side on the outside, but now I actually clock a little bit what's happening here. We need to actually chill out a little bit, so I actually let off the throttle on purpose there because I remember we need to make sure, first of all, we get ahead of all these guys. We're racing these guys as well. Verstappen, Bottas, this is Hamilton. Let's just overtake Hamilton first and make sure we maintain the 1-2, because if I fight Sainz, you know, you guys know me with teammates. If I fight a teammate, sometimes it can go on for lap after lap and lose us a lot of time. So I've kept it nice and calm. Lap 16 here. Now Hamilton has finally come in. So that was like, what, 5 laps after we made our pit stop. So Hamilton did go a little bit longer on those mediums, but I still don't understand the advantage they tried to gain on mediums, because it's just still a one-stop. You're still on hard tyres, so there's no real advantage to be gained here. But now that myself and Sainz are confirmed 1 and 2, we've got a little bit of a gap to Hamilton. Now let's go out and attack him and see if we can try and get this race lead away from him for the race win, potentially. I must say, this is all very exciting and very new to me and the entire team. 20 laps to go, and we are absolutely flying here on the left-hand side. We have a tyre on the grass as we really get squeezed on the left by Sainz. We're now neck and neck, side by side through the first 2 turns. A little bit again on the grass because the circuit's so tight and narrow to try and keep it side by side with anyone. But we get it done. Sainz has to back out of that as we have the advantages through that banked left-hander. And so we have the race lead, but for how long? Because Sainz comes back at us in Sector 3 into the chicane. Around the outside there, very fine on the front end. The front wing just grazing his gearbox, and he's got the advantage again. Hamilton in the background there, closing up. So again, I'm getting a little bit worried here. We're fighting too much. Maybe I need to just take one, you know, as the team boss, take one for the team, and for now, maybe hold station just a little bit, and maybe just not attack him as much, because we're gaining on him again, and we're right up his gearbox. Maybe we just sit behind Sainz and just keep him honest, but let's just work together as a team, pull away from Hamilton, and once we've got a decent gap, I'm talking 5 to 6 seconds, then maybe go and attack him, because the last thing I want to do is ruin the 1-2. I want a 1-2 no matter what position we finish in. So that's what we do. For the next few laps, we just stay behind Sainz within 1 second, save some fuel, just sit back, save some ERS as well, and just try and build the gap on this man Hamilton there. Behind him, Ocon comes in eventually for his pit stop, so the McLaren was running in P4. Now it's Verstappen, the home favourite in P4. Bottas behind him, so the Finn not doing too well in his Mercedes car. A bit further back behind those guys is this fight brewing between Vettel, Albon with a tank slapper there on the exit of turn 1. Both behind Sergio Perez in the AlphaTauri. He's doing a great job, obviously, after those guys had some upgrades into this weekend. But we now move back to our POV, and we're all the way now on lap 26. So about 8 or 10 laps after that kind of first initial fight with Sainz, but we kind of, you know, clocked what was going on there, looked behind us, chilled out a little bit, and now you can see we've got a 4-second gap to Hamilton, and now I'm starting to slowly wind back up the pace and looking to try and build momentum to overtake Sainz. Very much almost like they do in real life, you know. We see that a lot in real life F1. They have to back out because the tyres start to go off, you know, within 2 seconds of the next car due to the heat and the dirty air and whatnot. That's not you know, obviously as realistic in the F1 game, but it's kind of like the ebb and flow of real-life Grand Prix that we're having right now, is backing off a little bit, allowing the team to take advantage of our pace here, get away from Hamilton, Verstappen and Bottas, and now we are free to fight a little bit and try and get this first place. We go to lap 27 and set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix without having set a purple sector, which is quite peculiar, but you can see now that's, you know, us turning the screw there with the fast lap, and how much ERS we use, by the way, as well, of that banking is disgusting. We can literally go overtake mode from the start of the banking right till turn 1 pretty much if we time the deployment correctly around the rest of the lap, which is amazing. And no, here we are, another fastest lap, and looking now to make a dive on the outside of turn 1, trying to get the nose turned in, a lot of understeer kicking in, and Sainz is still there on the inside. He's actually got the advantage on us. We rub side pods a little bit as we get a little bit close and fine, and so the, well, I would say the boss on the pit wall, but I'm the boss, so I guess I'm getting nervy for both of us. But if I have a team principal as well delegated on the pit wall, I'm sure he or she is very nervous at this point in time watching us go side by side like that. But we're up into first place on lap 28, but we've still got a decent amount of this Grand Prix to go. And Sainz, the thing is, he's so strong in sector 2 and 3. Just as I say that, we make a mistake as well on the front right. Sainz on the outside, another lock up there. We're feeling the pressure. We're on the curb as well now, and the car gets unsettled, and Sainz literally just walks around us with ease there, as now, oh, Hamilton is out of the Dutch Grand Prix. Maybe that's why he was a little bit slow. I don't know. I mean, Verstappen and Bottas are so slow, so that doesn't explain the pace advantage over them. But for sure, Hamilton, maybe that's why he was slow in his last few laps. Maybe he was carrying that issue. So he is now out of this Grand Prix as we now look to re-overtake Sainz. He got us in Sector 3, but into the next lap, lap 29, on the right-hand side. Easy does it, back to the racing line, and we're back up into first place. But as I said, many laps to go still, many corners to make mistakes at, just like here with a bit of understeer, and Sainz has got his nose there with the red proximity arrow lighting up on the bottom of the screen. And excuse the frame rate there a little bit as we go through the replay camera, some low frame rates, but Sainz on the outside again. He's done that 3 times now, on the outside to the inside for the next part of the chicane. He just has such a great get off that. I guess he's using a lot of overtake mode there, whereas I'm using it all through the banking here, so it's kind of an ebb and flow of where each of us is choosing to deploy the ERS. But here we go now. Again, we're literally side by side through across the line once again, and we're up into first place once more, lap 31, and we've got some traffic up ahead with blue flags. Meanwhile, behind, Verstappen and Bottas are starting to turn up the heat a little bit, as Verstappen sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, I think that was, as he crossed the line, and so him and Bottas are maybe looking to close us in, so we need to be a little bit cautious on that. But at the moment, as it stands, I'm focused on Sainz, but we've got some lapped cars ahead of us. The first time I'm lapping a car, I think, in this career mode, and Latifi really doesn't do me a solid there, as he puts me off quite a fair bit, and Sainz now is all over me as we lock up again on this same right-hand up. We've actually been tapped by Sainz on the rear end, so it's getting very frosty indeed, and we make another mistake on the left. We're making so many mistakes here, as Sainz is putting us under massive pressure, and we just didn't need to put the left tyre on the curb there, and we're just doing that too many times. We're locking up on the front right there. We're getting flustered now because Sainz, his AI is really putting on the pressure. He's just constantly there. He's making no mistakes, no AI mistakes to help me out here. And you saw there, got put off by Latifi, lock up, and then Sainz makes a little bit of contact with us. Then he forces us tight, and to be fair, it's quite clever for him to keep us tight on the line, because it kind of almost forces me into the curb, and then I made the mistake of putting my front left on the curb and lost the back end. So we have to continue to chase him down now and go again on lap 33. We've got more lapped cars now to contend with here. I think it's Jack Aitken, the other Williams car, so my former teammate, side by side with my current teammate. Can we try and overtake him? We're gonna have to try and dive to the inside. Can't afford to lose time against Sainz here. We go charging in, just about slow down the car, but hopefully it's very apparent on your guy. But hopefully it's very apparent from your guys' perspective, but I'm literally on the edge of the limit here. I'm pushing so hard to try and keep up with Sainz because he's so bloody quick, and because of that we're making mistakes, we're locking up. You know, usually I try and drive within the limits of what I know I can do, but right now I'm trying to push them so much here to turn 1, trying anything, a little half-assed, you know, dive bomb. anything to try and attack him, because at the moment he's just soaking up all the pressure. And we're now moving into crunch time in this Grand Prix, on towards the second last lap of this race. More yellow flags. I think one of the McLarens is out of this Grand Prix, but we continue to plow on in P2, Sainz in P1. We get a good exit, a lot of overtake mode used, DRS open, but just not a little bit close enough to make a move into turn 1 this time round. We have actually a little look though, because Sainz is slowed by Giovinazzi. We had a fraction of a second where we're side by side. We get past Gio, so thankfully he doesn't put any of us off. But then the lock up here on the left-hand side, not going to help us out. We lose some momentum there as we go kind of seesaw through that banking, and so we're going to have to maybe stick behind for another lap, and it's going to have to be on the last lap then, I guess. I mean, we love last-minute drama here on this channel, but let's see if we can do this. This time, get a good exit off that same corner now on the last lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to use a lot of overtake mode, pretty much most of it on this lap now in Sector 2, round the outside. It's so close. We tap the grass again, and we... oh, we graze side pods there. Sainz comes through to retake the lead. We were side by side through such quick corners. It's such an unorthodox place to try and make an overtake and make a pass. We went for it. We had to go for it, because through here, off this corner, Sainz is so strong. I'm unable to close up to him. We try our best to break late into the chicane. We do close up a little bit. We have one more chance here. Going to squirt the overtake mode again. Oversteer, though, kicking in as the tyre wear now comes through into the last corner on the banking. Overtake mode, overtake mode, overtake mode. We actually run out of deployment. DRS open, and we gain and gain, but to the line, Carlos Sainz will win the Dutch GP and will win our team's very first Grand Prix in Formula 1. But look at this for a last lap. I was so close. I was a pixel away from ruining my entire race though on the last lap. If I went just a little bit wider on the left in that sector, that would have been curtains for me. I would have been on the ropes. My rear end would have stepped out. I would have spun at such high speed and probably would have DNF'd out this Grand Prix. So close. But he gets it. Fair play. Maybe quite deserved, to be fair, because he's come to our team and changed it so much for the better. Sainz wins it, and it's not only our first win as a team, but our first 1-2 as a team. My word, that was a Grand Prix. That was a Grand Prix and a half.
You can't fault the performance on the track today. A well-deserved victory. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Welcome then to the podium, our top 3 drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
Well, there he is, and there we are also beside him on the top and second step of the podium in Formula 1. The champagne is sprayed. It is our first race victory, hopefully one of many this season and on, but it's great to finally see both our guys up there, and you know, our team kit. It's just lovely to see the team kit in all its glory rendered out on a podium sequence like that. Awesome stuff, but we do not get the victory. We are literally so close. That was one of the closest finishes ever. As I said, pushed him across the finish line basically, but my word, I don't know what this episode was. I did not expect in my wildest dreams for our car to be this quick around Zandvoort after the Season 1 race we had around. Like, look, think about that. Just deep that. How much this car has come from Season 1, where I pretty much had a write-off race here, to my teammate qualifying on pole, dominating most of the race. We caught up so rapidly through some of the top cars in this sport and actually felt comfortable with it. And then we had a great, race-long battle pretty much for at least a good half of that race. It's insane. And so in the constructors, we are now in a very comfortable P2. Like now I am probably quite comfy saying we could probably try and solidify P2 this season, I think. I don't think we quite have the consistency for P1. Let's see how the next races go, but I have a suspicion that this race is a one-off and that maybe this is just a great circuit for the My Team FOM car, maybe, potentially, but I don't know, you never know. Let's go on to the next one and see. But obviously I'm always a realist of just not getting too too far ahead of ourselves. But today is the time to celebrate our first win as a team, our first 1-2 as a team. And, you know, yeah, I would have loved to have me get the first win for the team. But, I mean, Science has been such a great teammate for us in the game. We, you know, over 90 rated, I'm pretty sure, into this race with the training we gave him. So I think that's what gave him the edge. And to be fair, he deserved it from a great pole position by 8/10 to me. So to be fair, it was all kind of fair game in that kind of sense. So, you know, I'm still very, very happy because obviously, you know, compared to a normal kind of driver career mode, I am the team boss. So I also care about how the team does and the constructors. So as a team, you can't complain. 1-2, perfect weekend there, and the pole. Yeah, amazing stuff. So guys, if you did enjoy that race, be sure to smash the like button, especially for a historical moment in the My Team career mode. Our first race victory ever in this series. It's a big day. We'll look back at this episode down the line, and this was the first point. This was the beginning, maybe, of the new start for the team, winning ways for aarava Archer Racing. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.